US President Donald Trump is heading to Turkey for the NATO summit, and no, he is not in a great mood. At a time when Europe is facing its biggest security crisis in decades, the Middle East remains volatile after the Iran conflict, and Russia continues its war in Ukraine. The future direction of NATO could depend as much on President Trump's mood as it does on any formal agreement signed in Ankara. According to multiple US officials, Trump has become increasingly dissatisfied with several NATO allies after they refused to fully back his military operation against Iran earlier this year. Some European governments declined to allow the United States to use their military bases during the campaign, a decision that reportedly infuriated the president behind closed doors. During a White House meeting this spring, Trump is said to have floated a dramatic proposal. He asked advisors whether cutting America's military presence in Europe by nearly one-third would finally send NATO allies the message that Washington expected greater loyalty from its partners. Although that proposal was never immediately implemented, it revealed just how seriously the president is reconsidering America's long-standing security commitment to Europe. The Pentagon's actions soon reflected that changing mood. Plans for some US troop deployments to Europe were abruptly canceled. Thousands of troops were withdrawn from Germany. And Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth announced a 6-month review of all American forces stationed across the continent.
And for too long, NATO has been a paper tiger and a one-way street. No more. And that's what the Hague Summit is all about. That's what defense spending commitments are all about, transforming NATO back into a real military alliance that's focused on hard power and real deterrence, a NATO 3.0, modeled on the NATO 1.0 that won the Cold War, with our allies actually taking the lead in Europe's conventional defense.
Officials insist that no final decisions have been made. However, the review is widely expected to determine whether the United States should maintain its current military footprint in Europe, or significantly reduce it over the coming years. Trump has made little effort to hide his thinking. In recent public remarks, he complained that NATO countries had failed to stand beside the United States during the Iran conflict.
But listen, we spend all of this money, and then when we want to maybe have help on small stuff, this is small time. This is not the big one. This is small potatoes. They say no, would rather not help. Stupid thing to say, because we can say that to them if we want, and we might.
On social media, he described America's relationship with several allies as one-sided and questioned why Washington should continue carrying such a large share of Europe's defense burden. During a meeting with NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte, Trump summed up his expectations in a single sentence.
I just want their loyalty. We don't need their money. We don't need anything. We have the most powerful military in the world by far.
European leaders understand the stakes. Their priority in Ankara is no longer just discussing defense policy. Their immediate objective is ensuring that President Trump leaves the summit convinced NATO still serves American interests. That is why alliance members are expected to unveil detailed plans to dramatically increase defense spending. The new target would see NATO countries spend 5% of their GDP on defense by 2035. A level that many governments would have considered politically impossible just a few years ago. Secretary General Mark Rutte has openly argued that this transformation is largely the result of Trump's sustained pressure. According to Rutte, no American president since Dwight Eisenhower has succeeded in pushing Europe towards sharing such an equal defense burden with the United States. The message from NATO leadership is simple. Europe is finally stepping up, and it hopes that will persuade Washington to remain fully committed to the alliance. Yet defense spending is only one part of a much larger conversation. European governments remain deeply concerned that any significant reduction in American troops could weaken NATO's ability to deter Russia. Those fears have only grown as the war in Ukraine continues with no clear end in sight. President Volodymyr Zelenskyy will attend events surrounding the summit and is expected to meet Donald Trump separately. However, Ukraine will not participate in the formal leaders' session, underscoring how uncertain Kyiv's long-term NATO ambitions remain. At the same time, another issue continues to complicate relations within the alliance. Trump has repeatedly renewed his interest in Greenland, despite the island belonging to fellow NATO member Denmark. His administration maintains that Greenland remains strategically important for American national security, while many European governments view the proposal with deep concern. Taken together, disagreements over Iran, Ukraine, Greenland, and future U.S. troop deployments have created one of the most politically sensitive NATO summits in recent memory. As world leaders gather in Ankara, the official agenda focuses on strengthening NATO and presenting a united front against growing global threats. But behind the carefully prepared speeches and diplomatic photographs, the real test may be whether the alliance can repair its relationship with its most powerful member. European leaders hope the summit will reassure President Trump that NATO remains a valuable strategic partnership. Trump, however, is expected to arrive looking for proof that America's allies are finally prepared to share both the burden and the responsibility of collective defense. Whether Ankara succeeds in restoring that confidence or deepens the divisions within the alliance could shape NATO's future for years to come.
If you like this video, then like, share and subscribe to Mirror Now.